So hi guys. I think let's we have paused around around the 40 minutes of the building a responsive website with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's just continue with the next part. I'll just screen share entirely so that you guys can see clearly. So yeah, let's start. I have started a timer of 50 minutes. So we will be taking like 50, 10, 50, 10, so that we can go accordingly and it will be more easy to execute. So let's continue.
and convert to HSL. Now, let's add a custom property for the hero background. And then we're going to set this to the purple color. Okay, let's see. Next, let's also grab the color for the buttons. So in the hero, we have two buttons. And when you have two buttons, a really common naming pattern is to say the first one's primary and then the second one is secondary. So what I'm going to do is copy the teal color here from that first button. Then in our styles, we'll say C teal, pound or hashtag, and paste it in, and then convert this to HSL. And we also want to get the button text color, but actually before that, let's create the second set of custom properties for the actual button background. So we'll call this color button primary BG, and then set it to teal. Okay, now let's get the button text color. So I'm going to select the free trial text, and it looks like it is the same dark gray color that we used before. So what we can do is just create that second custom property, color button primary text, and set it to the sea gray color. There we go. Okay, so that's the first or primary button. Now let's look at the secondary button for this pricing button. And this one has a transparent background. So I'm still going to set it as a custom property. So I'm going to create a new color property called transparent. And we're going to set it to transparent. And this is a sort of a shorthand keyword that basically maps to black with 0% opacity. And I just like using transparent because it's a little quicker to see and to type. Now let's make a new custom property. And I'm going to say this one is color button secondary BG. And we'll set it to transparent. Now you might notice looking at the design, the secondary button is also different from the first one in that it has a white border instead of a solid color background. And the border and the text are the same color, white. So in VS Code, let's create another custom property. Let me just make VS Code a little wider here. We're going to call this one color button secondary border. And let's set it to white. And then I'm actually just going to duplicate this line and call the second one color button secondary text. And it's also set to white. Okay, let's go back to our design again, and let's see what other colors we need to get. So the next one I think is this full width feature here, which has this magenta background color. So we'll get that color, and then we want to create a magenta color. Hashtag, paste it in, click the color swatch and convert it. And then let's use the magenta color with a new property called color full width BG because it's being used in the full width feature section. And we'll set this to magenta. Okay, so I think that's a good start.
So yeah, basically, she has added three more colors, and I think around like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 custom colors. So we will just continue to do that. Yeah, currently I think we have three main colors and four custom colors. Let's just add CC. One was Right. One of the color was, I think, not the transparent. She has a teal. Teal was one of the color. So if we just click around, I think, yeah, I got the just, yep, and we'll name the variable as teal with hashtag and the color code, and let's just convert it into HSL file. Yeah, this is done. Let's create few more variables. So currently we have only one variable with respect to teal, that is primary background underscore colon, sorry, hash hash teal as a background and a colon with a variable with underscore c the teal. Yep, this will work. And original color, let it be transparent transparent. Let's just do it as transparent, and I'm not sure how it works. Let's just try it out. Since it doesn't give us any error, basically the color exists. As of she mentioned, this color is basically a pitch black color, which is completely dark. And let's create a few more backgrounds with respect to this. A color button primary text. Yeah, so the primary text here is in gray black color. So we will just create a color button primary text. So I think this is the one she is referring to. This button has a teal color with the primary color as black. So we will just mention as it is. Primary color text or just the primary text, I guess. Button primary text. Okay. Button primary. Yeah. Button primary text, which is dark gray. And we have a secondary background. We have a secondary background color. We can use a transparent as a color. And a secondary border button, which is white. Next comes the secondary button text. So the one she is referring to is this. The text is in white color. So that will be the variable name we will be providing here. Secondary text. It is nothing but the white color. So this part is done. It is transparent is done, and we have one more color, which is the background color of this. Yeah, I'll just copy this. The color used here is magenta. We'll use the magenta as the variable name itself. Use the hash, copy the code with a colon, and convert it into HCL form. Yep, this is done.
Okay, let's go back to our design again. The next one I think is this full width feature here, which has this magenta background color. So we'll copy that color, and then we want to create a magenta color. C magenta, hashtag, paste it in, click the color swatch and convert it to HSL. And then let's use the magenta color with a new property called color full width BG because it's being used in the full width feature section. Then we'll set this to magenta. Okay, so
I'll just give the conclusion of what exactly we're doing with the color. So basically, we have the original colors, which will be taking us variable for that. In order to use the same color in different variable, basically we call it as a custom variables. So custom variables could be used for using the colors which we already declared before. So we need not use the code again and again. So we will be using the variable uh, as as per the syntax, and we'll be calling one by one as per the requirement. So if we just check it out, we have the color main background which is white, and the text light which is also white. These both have the same color code but with a different variable name. Similarly, we can use the same color code for as many types as possible using this method. So this is the main reason we are using this. And the I think only one more left. One more custom code is left. We'll just create it off. Just full width, full width background. We will use the I think the magenta color. Wait, where is it? T and white, you know. Okay, there was a mistake in the syntax. So we will be using the magenta color here. It is nothing but pink color, pinkish color.
I think that's a good start for all the colors for now. We do have this gradient down here in the CTA call to action section, but we're going to work on those colors when we get to that section. So that's it for the colors, and let's get on to the next section, which is the wrapper styles.
Spotlight shine bright all on me. Got the internet turning
And yeah,
like who is she?
don't have a
Whole world
open
watching me
subscription,
about.
premium subscription.
Another global
Please
style that I like to set up
adjust.
is the wrapper styles. Now, by wrapper, what I mean is if we look at the design, all the text and image content on the website is limited to a specific width, and it's not going to go wider than that. So on mobile, if I select some of the content in the website and I hold down Alt, it tells us that there's 24 pixels of space on either side. And if we go to desktop and do the same thing, we have the content limited to 1200 pixels wide, and then any additional space will get added to the left and the right sides equally, keeping the main content in the center. In our styles, I'm going to go down to the bottom, keeping wide, and then any additional space will get added to the left and the right sides equally, keeping the main content in the center. In our styles, I'm going to go down to the bottom of our style.css file and start creating a new class called wrapper. And let's start with how we want the wrapper to behave on mobile. So on mobile, we want the website content to basically take up 100% of the available width, but to have 24 pixels of space on left and right. So if we add up that space, that's 48 pixels total. And so the actual width of the website content in the wrapper is going to be 100% minus 48 pixels. So I'm going to set the width property, and we can actually do math by using the CSS calc function. So I'm going to write calc, and then in the parentheses, I'm going to write 100% minus 48 pixels. And let's start adding this wrapper class to our website to see how it's going to look. So in the body tag, I'm going to create a new div, giving it a class of wrapper with .wrapper. And then using Emmet, it'll generate the code for us. And then we're going to move the h1 and paragraph tag inside this div. So now on the website, we can see that the width has been limited to 100% minus 48 pixels. However, all of the space is currently on the right side, and we want this to be centered. So one way we can do this is with margin inline and set it to auto. What this does is it's going to make the margins on the left and the right side take up all available space, and they're going to be equal widths, which essentially centers the content. So it's a really handy way to center content for cases like these. In addition, margin inline is only going to set the left and right margins. It's not going to do anything with the top and bottom margins. So this is a little better way of setting margins only on the sides without having to say margin, 0 auto. So the mobile website looks actually pretty good. However, let's see what happens as the viewport width increases and we get to desktop widths. So you can see that the content is basically continuing to get as wide as the viewport width minus that 48 pixels. And this is obviously too wide for desktop. So what we also want to do is we want to set a max width of the wrapper to 1200 pixels. And we could do this with, say, setting max width of 1200 pixels, but I'm actually going to show you a cooler way of doing this, which is still using the width property. So the way that we can do this is with another CSS function, the min function. So what the min function does, and I'm just going to start writing it here, is that it takes two parameters separated by a comma, and then it's going to choose the smallest value between the two. So I'm going to move the calc function into the min function. And this is going to be the first parameter. Then we're going to set the second parameter, and that's going to be the 1200 pixels width that we have from our desktop design. However, we want to use the rem unit for this because it's more accessible. So what I'm going to do is use the calc function again to convert from 1200 pixels divided by 16 because 16 pixels equals 1 rem. And then we do need to add the rem unit by multiplying it by 1 rem.
We'll just do till the width part. So CSS, and we're creating a new class that is a wrapper class. And what is it? A width. Width being 1200. So we'll just use the calcs and 100%. %, minus 48 pixel, and we will be using a div class here, div tag here, whether class is equal to wrapper red close somewhere near here. So this, yep, this should work. Let's see the demo. Yeah, this is working. See, if we can see here, there's a proper, yeah, there's a proper space left here at the right side. Similarly, since we need the spacing on the left and the right side, we will just do one more thing. The width is done and margin inline. Let's keep it to auto. So it basically calculates both side and it will give the output. This is run. If we reload, oh, what happened? No change. Okay, let's see what's the error we did. What did we do? It was a mistake. I don't know what is the mistake happening here, but we're not getting the exact output we need.
To go down to the bottom of our style. And let's start with how we basically
What's happening? What's happening?
take right actual write the code for us.
I don't see a problem here, but unfortunately, something is not right. Let's just reload again. Reload it. Let's just close and come back here. Let's go for, yep. Let's see how it's gonna. I don't know what's happening. It should have been working now, but it's not. Is there an issue? What's the issue? Is there any spelling mistake in the class? I don't think so. Mhm. Okay.
Space. And they're going to be equal widths, which essentially centers the content. So it's a really handy way to center content for cases like these. In addition, margin inline is only going to set the left and right margins. It's not going to do anything with the top and bottom margins. So this is a little better way of setting margins only on the sides.
I don't know, it's working for her, but it's not working for me. What's happening? What's happening? Did we do any mistake? Did we actually do some mistake? We have a wrapper here. We have the same wrapper here, which has been active. Yeah, we can literally see, and we have 100%. I think everything is fine. Why isn't it work? Why isn't it working? What is the problem?
Without site looks, we get
Make a move with
According to her, if we just move around, yeah, okay, if we just, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, the spacing is working. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank God. That's what I told. Because there is no mistake in the code, there is no logical error. It should have been working. So at this point, I realized one thing. I got a one point that whenever if we write a new code, we should first save and try to rerun the code or rerun the live server so that you get the latest update of whatever the changes you did without any issues. Yep, let's continue.
Hostinger sale. Bring your idea to life with Hostinger Horizons AI. You just need to describe it.
basically continuing to get as wide as a viewport width minus that 48 pixels. And this is obviously too wide for desktop.
Any people watching? Nope. Cool, cool, cool.
So what we also want to do is we want to set a max width of the wrapper to 1200 pixels. And we could do this with, say, setting max width of 1200 pixels, but I'm actually going to show you a cooler way of doing this, which is still using the width property. So the way that we can do this is with another CSS function, the min function. So what the min function does, and I'm just going to start writing it here, is that it takes two parameters separated by a comma, and then it's going to choose the smallest value between the two. So I'm going to move the calc function into the min function. And this is going to be the first parameter, and that's going to be the 1200 pixels width that we have from our desktop design. We want to use the rem unit for this because it's more accessible. So what I'm going to do is use the calc function again to convert from 1200 pixels divided by 16 because 16 pixels equals 1 rem. And then we do need to add the rem unit by multiplying it by 1 rem. So what's happening here is that in the min function, we have these two values. We have 100% minus 48 pixels, and then the other choice is 1200 pixels. So how does this work out in real life? Well, let's check out our website on mobile view. So in mobile view, we're using the iPhone, which has a viewport width of 375 pixels. So in this case, the first parameter of 100% minus 48 pixels is going to be 375 pixels minus 48 pixels, which is 327 pixels. And then the other choice is 1200 pixels. And so in this case, our two choices are 327 pixels and 1200 pixels. And since 327 pixels is the smaller number, that's the one that's going to get chosen as the value of our width property. We can actually see this if we inspect our website here. So if I select the wrapper div and we go down in our layout tab to the box model, we can see that the width of the content is about 327 pixels, which does match the math that we did earlier. Now let's change to a laptop view at 1440 pixels of viewport width. And I'm just going to zoom out so you can see everything on the screen. And I know this looks very small. So now at 1440 pixels wide, 100% is going to be 1440 minus 48 pixels, which is 1392 pixels. And that's larger than the second parameter of 1200 pixels. So in this case, 1200, the smaller number, is going to be the final width. And again, if we inspect the wrapper, we can see the content is 1200 pixels wide. And then any extra space goes evenly on the left and the right sides, thanks to our margin inline auto style rule. Now, one small side note here, you might notice that I'm using rems for the 1200 pixel width, but in the first parameter, I set the space of 48 pixels using just pixels, not rems. The reason for this is that I like using rems for font size, so they will scale up if the browser-based font size changes. And I also use rems for widths of elements, like the 1200 pixel wrapper.
So there are a few points regarding the RAM. So I'll just write it down so that I don't forget it for further purpose. And beyond that, it's important. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the freaking pen, bro? Okay. Yeah. So here we got, I think, three important points. First thing is all about the RAM. One RAM is equal to 16 pixel, and there is a reason why we didn't use a RAM in 100% minus 48 pixel. That is because RAM is basically for focused on font size. So whenever there could be a difference in the font size, so there will be a mobile view, there will be a browser view, there will be a tab view. So according to the requirement, it basically changes or shape shifts accordingly. And this alignment is properly aligned using a margin inline. Margin inline. If we set it to auto, it basically does the work. So it basically calculates, and moreover that the width we have set, it is a minimum of whichever the calculation it shows. So if it is like 100% minus 48 pixel, if that value is less than 1200 divided by 16 into 1 RAM, so that value will be shown. So 1200 is basically for the web browser, and 100% minus 48 pixel is basically focused on mobile browser or mobile application view or some tab view. So that helps a lot. So in width, the minimum of either of the one is taken, and a margin auto is set. So giving it a total of proper alignment according to the requirement we need. Simple as that. So let's move on. Let's move on to next part.
And I also use them for media queries, which we will see later on. But I will use pixels for things that I don't necessarily want to get larger if the font size increases, like margin, padding, and border radius. So let me show you what that looks like. So in the website, I've gone back to the iPhone view on our website, and let's go to our Firefox settings. Now in the settings, I'm going to search for font, and here we can see that the default size is set at 16 pixels. Now I'm going to make it a bigger number. Let's try doubling it to 32 pixels. If we go to the website and reload, you can see that the text size is a larger than it was before. So now let's go to our wrapper div. In our styles, I'm going to change the 48 pixels to, instead of 48 pixels, be 3 rems, which is the equivalent when you convert. And watch the space around the text content when I save. So I'm saving now. And now you can see the space got bigger. And it's not a ton of space, and it may not seem like a big deal here, but that is going to compound if the font size setting gets bigger than we set it before. So if we go back to our settings and go from 32 to a bigger number, 48, and then reload the website, you can see that there's just a whole lot of space taking up real estate that we would honestly rather have given to the text, because it's just making the text column pretty narrow. So I think for readability, this is why I like setting our spaces using pixels. So let's go back to 48 pixels. And it is still narrow, but you can see that it is more readable than it was when we were using rems. So that's how the wrapper class works. And this is an example of a helper or utility class where the class name is meant to be reused throughout the website, and it has styles that really just do one thing, in this case, controlling how the content inside the wrapper behaves. And this is a really efficient way of reusing styles because we only need to add this wrapper class to whatever element we want to use it for. All right, so let's go back to 16 pixels in our browser font settings so we can go back to our normal sizes. And next up, we're going to start looking at our typography styles.
When you have the perfect response.
So yeah, let's execute whatever we saw now. Let's execute one by one. So yeah, let's see the difference. One second, and just save it. And this is one. So imagine if I increase the size of it, the font size. Yep. So though we are zooming it out, it doesn't show much difference. So the spacing is proper, and I think this. Yeah, let me just inspect. So if we inspect, we will get to know one thing. The size is 94 point something into 1200. Yeah. So it will basically calculate from the minimum 100% minus 48. That is how it has calculated. Now let's just start with the REM. So basically 48 is nothing but 3 REM, right? It's the same thing. We will just see the difference. It's a literal same thing. Nothing changed because 48 is nothing but 3 RAM. So let's see the difference. Yeah. So we can see the gap here. So we'll just see it again. Let's just mention 48 pixel. Okay. We'll just save it and reload this. Fine. The space is increased. We'll just how to explain, bro. Okay, let's keep this as it is, and we will take it as 3 RAM. See, the demonstration she shows the difference between the actual one and the RAM. So RAM, basically the difference was it was giving more of spaces with improper text, more of like the spaces were unnecessary, but it was too much. But at the same time, when she gave 48 megapixel, 48, the spacing was right on that exactly what you needed. And the text was also doesn't look like abrupt or disturbed. It was looking better than before. So that's why the RAM was not used in the first case, and 48 pixel was used in the first case. Let's just reload once. I can't see any difference, but according to the what is shown, there was a difference. And one more thing, now I'm showing this a tab size or something like that. I'm not showing the website, I mean the mobile application size. So that could be the reason there's no difference. Yeah. The difference from what I saw and what I'm executing now. That's fine. I think that works perfectly.
In your head, but your fingers just can't keep up. We've all been there, typing, deleting, retyping. Now I use Whisperflow. I just think out loud.
All right, so let's go back to Figma and check out our text styles. So in the design, I'm going to select the headline up here in the hero, and in the right sidebar, it's telling us that in the typography panel, we're using Source Sans 3 as our font family, and then we have a font weight of bold. Then if we select the paragraph text underneath that, it's still Source Sans 3, except it is now regular font weight. So Source Sans 3 is a Google font, and I'm actually going to show you how to load this font locally instead of using Google Fonts embed code. Let me show you what I mean here. So we are on the Google Fonts website, loading Source Sans 3, and usually if you want to use this, you click the Get Font button, and then you can get the embed code. And what this does is it's going to load the font files from Google and then also load CSS to load those fonts in your website. And this is not GDPR compliant because this way Google is going to be able to track the IP addresses of all of your website visitors when they load these resources from Google. So what we want to do is to load the font locally with actual font files.
Since typography a little bit lengthy, it's more like a 25-minute session. We shall continue this tomorrow, as it's already too late. It's already 1 o'clock next day. So it's better to do with a fresh mind rather than doing with a tired mind. And especially since we have a long time to do, 25 minutes, so that will be efficient if I do it morning. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting and watching the live. It was great studying with you guys. Thank you.